I think sometimes in emergencies, people don't even know what a real emergency is. They just make everything into an emergency. Think about it. If you don't have PUC and a cop stops you, it's not an emergency. You're going to get a fine. How long are you willing to argue with the cop over this? Right? If your bike is broken into 35 parts, but you are physically okay, your motorcycle is in trouble, but it's no longer an emergency, you're okay.
So basically, when we are talking about emergencies, it comes down to money, which
Yeah.
is material,
Yeah.
right? There is the human angle, which can be flesh, bone, etc.
Yeah.
And the third is time.
Yeah.
So basically, you will have to play with these three factors in terms of
Yes.
seriousness.
Thank you. And when you fell off my Tuono, remember I was in the classroom. I didn't know this had happened. I came out and I saw your face and I knew something had happened. My first concern was not the motorcycle. My first concern is, are you okay? And as I'm walking towards you, I can already see you're okay. You're obviously upset. Something has definitely happened. Since you're looking at me where you're that kind of upset, something has happened to my bike. But you're okay.
Yeah.
So this is not a crisis anymore. It's a problem. It's a challenge. And if the bike was in 35 pieces, obviously financially this is a huge thing. Fair enough. You are okay. You are the hardest thing to fix in all of this.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of threat, that would be the thing.
Yeah. Right? So when somebody has a crash at the racetrack, and a racetrack is a great place to have a crash because the ambulance is always 300 meters away. It was designed for you to have a crash and everything is far away from you, etc., right? First thing is always, is the rider okay? Because a bike can block the racetrack and waste other people's time. But a broken bike is just a broken bike.
All my crashes have been on the racetrack only.
It's the best situation ever.
Either racetrack or off-road.
No, it's the best situation. Remember when Sarath high-sided himself out of the scooty pep in the awards thing? Okay, came into turn 10, scooty pep, small thing. He was trying to set lap time or whatever. You know how races are.
At Kari.
At Chennai, turn 10.
At Chennai?
Yeah. And he high-sided and broke his collarbone. Okay, very sad. And it obviously interrupted his race season, etc., etc., etc. But think about it like this. Sarath high-sides him off the scooter, lands on the ground. By that time, the marshal has already noticed there is a problem. The flags have already come out, which means that the ambulance was there in 3-4 minutes after that. He was in the medical bay of the racetrack about 5 minutes after that, in which time they've cut his leathers or whatever and checked that his collarbone is indeed broken. And therefore, within 15-20 minutes, whatever, he was in the hospital, on the way to the hospital in the ambulance. This is the best case medical care. The only way to do this better is to have a helicopter instead. It's the best place to have a crash. Right? When I slid down the road on the Tuono, also in turn 2, when my airbag went off, I was enjoying the airbag sensation. I was not worried about me at all. I wasn't worried about the bike at all either. I was like, okay. It's been 16, 17 years at the racetrack without a crash. Kabhi to hona tha. Might as well be now. Yeah. And I know it's on a warm-up lap, so we're not going fast. So the chances that the Tuono will be seriously damaged, minimal. Okay, my leathers had a new airbag in it. If you wanted to try it.
Commitment.
This is not an easy test, but ho gaya. Okay, now in hindsight, I realize maybe it's a terrible idea to waste the airbag on such a slow speed crash, because replacing that airbag is such a challenge.
Okay.
But now I know what it feels like, how it works, etc., right? I'm better informed than before. And what is the damage on the Tuono? One slightly bent crash slider from a low speed crash. It's okay. It's not like I had to fix anything on the bike after that.
So in terms of all of this reporting to the police and all, that is required for your insurance.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? No?
See, I think before we go into the legal, I think it's best that you classify it into 3 parts. First is material. Material damage is material damage. You can make as much of a fuss about it as you like. Correct. It is just material damage.
Correct.
Most of the time your insurance will pay for it. Worst case, you'll be out of pocket by a heck of a lot of money. And these are all minor issues compared to what else could have happened. Second is people. This is the most critical aspect of it all. These are the hardest things to fix. So if there are people who are injured, people who are scared, people who are going into shock, I think the better prepared you are for it, the calmer you can be about dealing with it, the better the things get. I'll give you a slightly horrific example, but it is a great example. We were playing cricket, I think. I was in 5th, 6th, 7th, so 13, 14, 15 years old. And you know how housing societies like to put fences around everything? So they put a fence around our field. And the fence had spikes that stick out of the fence. So when I went to catch the ball, sorry to do this to you, I landed with one of my calf muscles impaled on one of those spikes. Now, I told you I get calmer in an emergency. So everybody on the field started to panic. The one person not panicking and the person in the most pain is me. So I directed the rest of the operation. Okay. So I'm like, get my leg off that thing. So the bravest person came and lifted my leg off that thing. Chalo. Now carry me home. How do we carry you home? I said, you're not going to do like a birthday bumps wala carry. I'll sit like a Raja with my feet across like this, and you will carry me as if I'm on a palki. Make palki, let's go. So my father, who's sitting in the balcony reading a newspaper, he sees his son's head appear, okay, much taller than it usually is. And he looks up, and I'm sitting, and all my friends are carrying me, and he can't figure out whether I've done something amazing or I've hurt myself. So when I show up, he sees, okay, serious injury. Let's go to the doctor. Let's go to the doctor. I am the genius. Doctor says, should I give you some anesthesia because I have to stitch this closed? I said, no. I didn't know what was anesthesia. I didn't know. I don't recognize the word. But my natural reaction to medication is a no. So my dad's looking at me, say, are you sure about this? I said, yeah, no anesthesia. So the man, and he was an army doctor, so he didn't give a crap either way, right? So he stitched me up, and I am like, this is incredible amount of pain. So when he finished, until then I didn't open my mouth, okay? I basically nearly broke my dad's thumb because I was holding onto his hand. But listen to this. At the end, I said, Doc, what is anesthesia? And now he's looking at me like I am the dumbest thing he's ever seen, okay? Because he's like, oh, you said no before you found out what it is?
Well, yeah.
Right? But the amazing thing about that experience is I was in control the entire time because nobody else was willing to take control. I mean, it was not an injury that made me unconscious. So I had the capacity to do it. So I did it. I told them what happens next. So to me, materials, ignore. It doesn't matter. It's fixable. Whatever it is fixable one way or another. Worst case, you'll have to replace it. It's done. People, take care of them. Sometimes mental injuries are much worse than physical injuries. Take care of them. If that requires training, I think it's worthwhile. Especially if you're an ardent driver, you're a passionate motorcyclist who's going to be out there a lot, it is worth being trained for this. Basic first aid training goes a long way. Okay. Third comes time. And time is a weird thing. It's as important a currency in this kind of a situation as you're willing to make of it. Right? If you accept that I'm going to wait on the side of the road 5 hours for an RSA truck to come, it's not like you're going to die of a lack of amusement. Especially now that you have a phone and you can just do this like for 5 hours, right? You can make 1,000 phone calls. If you haven't spoken to your family in 3 months, that's a great time to call your family and tell them what's going on, right? What is the crisis here?
Yeah.
Right? On the Amazing Road Trips podcast, we said, be flexible about your plan. Be flexible about your plan.
Whoa. You made it through a video that's way longer than 1 minute. We might be onto something here. In which case, head to the MotorInc channel, and there might be a next challenge waiting for you there.